Senator Jackson Andrews. Senator Kusan would like personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could take a moment of personal privilege, members. Today is Acadiana Day. I'd just like to welcome some of our dignitaries. I know the DAs are all standing up, so you won't be able to see them, but I'd just like to welcome to our audience Dr. Joseph Savoy, President of UL Lafayette, Dr. Jamie Hebert, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, UL Lafayette, and I see Dan Hare out there, my neighbor and Director of Community Development, UL Lafayette. Nice to see you. And for anybody else here with that group, I'll be naming everybody extensively this afternoon, but welcome to the Capitol, welcome to this committee, and I appreciate you joining us. Nice to see y'all.
Welcome to the committee. Thank you for being here today. Oh, Carrie Williams. Yes. Yeah. Shannon. Okay. So we now have Senator Jackson Andrews with Senate Bill 430.
Thank you.
Senator, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, brought this bill on behalf of not only the Jewish community, but people around the state, mainly the Jewish community around our state. Right now, there is in law, I'm sorry, I can hold it. Okay. So this bill does not negate the legality of the death penalty. This bill only seeks to remove nitrogen hypoxia from the means by which we implement the death penalty. As many of us know, and I won't belabor this issue, you seem to have had a long debate today, that Jews during the Holocaust were killed by means of gas that suffocated them. This is a triggering method for them, and it triggers their trauma. And so I brought this bill not to make the death penalty illegal in the state of Louisiana, but to remove this one method by which we implement the death penalty.
We do have an amendment. Would you like to take that up at this time?
Yes, I believe it's a technical amendment if someone can offer it.
Okay, so I'll offer up amendment set 1981. Members, you should have that in front of you. Mr. Miller, I believe it is just technical in nature. Yeah, technical in nature. Is there any objection to the adoption of that amendment? See no objection. That amendment is adopted. Back on the bill.
And that is what the bill does. I have two guests with me. We've selected two people to speak if I can, Mr. Chairman. I believe everyone filled out green cards who are here in support of this bill, but to understand the time limits of committee, only two of the supporters of the bill are going to speak today.
Okay. Welcome to the committee. Please proceed in whatever order you'd like.
Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Dr. Naomi Yavna-Close, and I'm a member of the steering committee of the Jews Against Gassing Coalition, and I'm also the Reverend Bienvenu Distinguished Chair of Humanities at Loyola University in New Orleans, where much of my scholarship focuses on the Holocaust. This summer, I'll be an Alan Cornell Scholar at Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem. So as a scholar who's really concerned with how we teach not just about, but through the Holocaust to address contemporary concerns, I really urge you to ban the use of lethal gas in executions and pass Senate Bill 430 out of this committee. Even for those who support the role of capital punishment in our criminal justice system, the use of gas as a state-sanctioned murder should be deeply troubling. This is the perspective of our coalition, which does not take a stance on the death penalty itself, but opposes the use of gassing in executions. So I'd like to provide you with some historical context. In 1939, the Nazis began experimenting with poison gas, predominantly carbon monoxide, as a means to kill those they deemed unworthy of life due to disability or mental illness. After it was decided that conducting mass shootings was too emotionally grueling for German soldiers, the Nazis began to use hermetically sealed vans that filled with gas to kill hundreds of thousands of people, predominantly Jewish people, but also Roma or Gypsies, they're sometimes called, or mentally ill and disabled people. Finally, the Germans built mass killing centers, most famously at Auschwitz, but also at extermination camps such as Sobibor Belzec, and Treblinka, in which a pesticide called Zyklon B was deployed to murder as many as 2,000 men, women, and children at any one time. Approximately 2.7 million people were killed by gas at these killing centers. Now, we recognize, of course, that the gassing of innocent victims in the Holocaust is quite different from executing a convicted criminal. But for Jewish people, and really anyone with knowledge of the Holocaust, the historical association with this execution method is chilling and undeniable, eliciting a visceral response that evokes not justice, your goal, but genocide. Anne Frank is remembered for writing, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are good at heart." And in fact, what she truly said was that she believed in the innate goodness of people, that is, in human dignity. And as legislatures, I urge you to draw on the inner goodness that guided you to seek public service. And remember that justice and the public good are not served by resorting to the cruel and inhuman tactics of an authoritarian and anti-Semitic regime. We in Louisiana are counting on you to show the world that we are much better than that. Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Aaron Block, and I'm the Director of Jewish Multicultural and Governmental Affairs at the Jewish Federation of Greater New Orleans. Part of my role at the Jewish Federation is as Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council, or as it's known, JCRC, which serves as the advocacy arm of the Jewish Federation and consists of representatives from all of our local Jewish institutions, including synagogues, nonprofits, and so on and so forth. There are currently about 27 members of that JCRC committee. So the JCRC primarily focuses on issues of importance to the Jewish community, and when we act, we really act as one united Jewish front. Which means that we are very careful when we discuss issues and make a determination on whether or not this is something we should move forward on. We really work very hard to ensure that there's a consensus agreement among our membership rather than just a simple majority before we take any action. And as you can imagine, with so many voices and opinions in the room with almost 27 members, you can imagine how rare we may reach a consensus decision to move forward on something or reach a consensus position. So when HB 6 was introduced during the recent criminal justice, the recent crime session, special session on crime, our JCRC was approached by a number of community members specifically concerned about the introduction of nitrogen hypoxia or gassing as a method of execution in Louisiana. So our JCRC convened a special meeting to discuss the topic and voted without any opposition, which again can be quite rare, to adopt a position firmly opposing the implementation of gas suffocation as a method of execution in Louisiana and unequivocally calling for the rejection of suffocation-based executions, whether through the use of masks or any form of gas chamber within the state. That resolution also read in part that our position is rooted in our historical experiences, moral teachings, and commitment to justice. The use of lethal gas in executions evokes painful memories of the Holocaust, where millions of Jews and others were murdered in gas chambers. We do not suggest comparisons to the atrocities of Nazi Germany, under which millions of our relatives were murdered, many by suffocation in sealed chambers. Still, we cannot imagine it possible that Jewish communities anywhere could stand by while prisoners are executed in our names using any variation of that mechanism. As we know, House Bill 6 passed. However, this Jews Against Gassing Coalition was born, which is why we are here today in support of Senator Jackson's bill, SB 430. So just in concluding, I'm also happy to offer up any background information if you would like, but I just want to thank Senator Jackson for offering this bill and to thank the committee members today for your consideration and ask that you please support this bill, SB 430. I'd also like to invite you, if you are around, we will be having a Jews Against Gassing press conference on the steps of the Capitol at 12 o'clock today at noon. We'll be hearing from some clergy, some faith leaders, community members as well, and we would love to have any of you that are interested in joining us. So thank you so much.
Senator Duplessis for a question.
No question, Chairman. I just wanted to thank Senator Jackson for bringing this very important bill. I want to thank the members of the coalition who both spoke today for your testimony and those who did not speak for organizing around this important issue. At the proper time, I'd like to move the bill favorable.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Duplessis. All right, other cards in support would provide information if requested. Kevin Margolius, Cameron Lowry, Tom Costanza, Gus Lev, Jacqueline Stern. In support would provide information if requested. In support, not wishing to speak, Terry Landry Jr., Brandy Melissa, Arnie Fizzles.
Field code.
All right, Arnie, we're going to call Arnie. Henry Visconsi, Zoe David Lang, Rodney Braxton, and Chloe Denman. I apologize for any mispronunciations. All right, let's see. Okay. All right. Moving to opposition. I don't believe there's wish to speak, so please keep your seat. We do have one white card to provide information only, wishing to speak from Carrie Williams. If Carrie Williams would like to come forward at this time to provide information only. Okay. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself.
Well, good morning. My name is Kerry Williams, and I am a volunteer for the Lafayette area. Good to see you. One of my good friends from Lafayette. Know him good well. Good to see you, Senator. All of you. Glad to be here. I am supporting this 100% because I am a minister of the gospel in South Louisiana, and I believe this is a great, thank you, you're doing a great job for this bill. I'm 100% on board with it. The reason why I'm on board with it because I believe in the rights for people. I believe what's rights for everybody that lives in the state of Louisiana. Don't matter what color you're, don't matter what's the race, or don't matter what it is. I believe because that's what I was raised in about it, and that's why I'm supporting this 100%. Senator Jackson and I will be on the steps with you at 12 o'clock because I believe in it, and I thank Mr. Paul for, he knows me really well from Lafayette, and I think this is a great bill, and I'm honored to support this bill 100%. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Let me read in the cards in opposition. John Singwafeld on behalf of Attorney General Liz Merrill. We have Philip Terrell in opposition, would provide information if requested. Mr. Duhay in opposition, not wishing to speak. Philip Terrell has now decided to speak. Billy Joe Harrington in opposition, not wishing to speak. And Francesca Davenport in opposition, not wishing to speak. Mr. Terrell, if you would please come forward. We do. Yes, we do. Sally Richard in opposition will provide information if requested. Welcome to the committee today. Please introduce yourself for the
morning.
record and you begin.
Good morning, Senators.
Good morning.
Senators, just briefly, Senators, I'm Philip Terrell, Rapids District Attorney. As you gentlemen know, the law of the state of Louisiana now, as of the special session, is there are now 3 forms of execution, and under that now the law of the state. And Miss Sally Richard asked that I bring her down here, and she wanted to tell you her story and why she is in favor of the death penalty. Miss Richard is one of the victims in a very heinous crime in Rapides Parish that occurred many years ago way before I was a district attorney, back when I first became a lawyer. And Miss Sally and I became acquainted very recently, and she was one of the victims that we carried through the proceedings that occurred during the clemency proceeding. I'll let her tell y'all her story.
Thank you, Mr.
Why
Terrell.
she's in favor of the death penalty.
Ms. Richard,
Sally,
thank
if you
you.
tell them
Welcome
who
to
you
the
are.
committee.
My name is Sally Richard,
Tell them what happened to
please
you, Miss
begin.
Sally.
and I'm the victim of the Cheneyville slasher of Larry Roy. And want him to have death row. Deserve for him to have death row. Because what he tried to kill me and my family and my husband.
And who did he kill? You tell him
Killed
what
my
he did to you.
husband. He sliced my husband's throat. Killed my aunt. Sliced your throat. My son, my baby boy. He can't hardly talk. And I got cut. And my oldest son got cut. So I think Larry Roy deserved death row.
That's all that we wanted to present to you. Thank you for hearing us.
And I appreciate that testimony. I think that's one of the things that we cannot set aside and we cannot ignore. That when we discuss the death penalty, there is absolutely victims on the other side of this issue whose lives have been permanently changed forever. And it's difficult to come to this committee and talk about it. I understand that, and I appreciate your courage in being here to do that. I don't believe in the legislation that was passed during the crime special session that included these additional methods, that there was any ill intent in creating a correlation between the absolute heinous things that occurred to the Jewish community ever. I certainly understand the desire behind this bill, and I respect their input in this process as well, but let us not forget that as we discuss the death penalty in general, that there are absolute heinous things that have happened to citizens
And
in our state.
we certainly mean no disrespect to the Jewish community nor to anyone else. We simply point out the heinous nature of the crimes that occurred to the victims.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
testimony, Ms.
Okay.
Richard. Senator Jackson Andrews, the board is clear if you'd like to close on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mrs. Richard. We share in the sorrow of what happened. I don't want the bill to get misunderstood. The bill in no way makes the death penalty in the state of Louisiana unconstitutional. If this bill passes, the death penalty in the state of Louisiana will still be law. This removes one method that triggers trauma to Jews from the method of how someone is put to death. And so I wanted to be, make sure I was clear with Mrs. Richard. I appreciate her testimony. If this bill passes, the death penalty is still legal. There are still two methods within our code where someone can be put to death. That is not my desire, but it has been the desire of the legislature, and so they will still stand and still be constitutional.
All right, thank you very much. Senator Duplessis moves that we report Senate Bill 430 as amended. Is there any objection to that motion? Seeing no objection, Senate Bill 430 will be reported as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and
Thank you,
members.
Senator.